Hello, fellow sleuths. Welcome to another investigation. Let's dive straight in. This is what the investigators call a, quote, 17-unit discharge. That's 17 rounds in the air. People are asking why it took that much. But when you look at Exhibit B, the hardware, you see why. Dwight Hawkins had a loaded semi-auto right next to him. When you're GVU in Baltimore, and you see a prohibited possessor reaching for that platform, the math changes instantly. It's not about overkill. It's about stopping the threat before it stops you. Check the field report. The family is saying just tackle him, but look at the proximity. Hawkins didn't just run away. He ran directly into a secondary unit. We're talking less than 10 feet. In the streets of Baltimore, 10 feet is zero reaction time. Now, the streets of Baltimore don't see it the same way the precinct does. We got the family of Dwight Hawkins speaking out, calling him a changed man who moved to Hagerstown to get away from the life. All right, look at the screen. I'm not just giving you a name, I'm giving you the timeline. Look at that top highlight, September 24th, 2018. That's his entry date. This man has 7.5 years on these Baltimore streets. He's seen the transition from the old BPD to the new consent decree era. He's a veteran, but look down at the second highlight. This is where the story gets heavy. January 5th, 2026. He was reinstated to full active duty exactly 55 days before he ran into Dwight Hawkins. He was coming off a declination. That means the state looked at his last shooting from June 2025 and said, no charges. But ask yourself, if you're a GVU officer and you just spent 6 months riding a desk while your life was under a microscope, what's your headspace when you get back in that unmarked car in January? He's in the group violence unit. Their job is to find the guns. 55 days back on the line, and he finds another one. Is that a coincidence? Or is that a man doing exactly what the city hired him to do? We're gonna look at the map next to see if that headspace played a role. Let's look at the geometry of the ground. This isn't a suburban cul-de-sac. This is the 3,600 block of Belair Road. Look at the intersection of Belair and Pelham. Most people watch the body cam and think it's a long chase. It's not. It's a sprint through a bottleneck. Hawkins exits the store, hooks a right, and tries to use the corner of Pelham as a blind spot. But look at the X. This is where Officer Rodriguez was positioned. I want you to look at the 8.5-foot reaction gap on the map. In Baltimore, we call this the dead zone. At 8.5 feet, you can't even draw and fire a taser effectively. The spread wouldn't even be wide enough to lock the muscles. Hawkins wasn't running away at this point. He was running into the secondary unit. When you turn a corner at full speed and you're 8 feet away from a GVU officer who already has his hand on his holster, the math is over. This map proves that the environment, the narrow sidewalks and the blind corners of Belair Road dictated the 17-round outcome as much as the people did. All right, we looked at the gun in Exhibit A. Now we have to look at the man. This is Exhibit B. This is the dossier of the high-risk recurrence list in Baltimore. Now, I want to be very clear. The family is in the news right now saying Dwight Hawkins was a, quote, changed man. They said he moved out to Hagerstown, worked at a hotel, and was doing it for his kids. I hear that. But as an auditor, I have to look at the paperwork. Look at the history on the screen. 2012, armed robbery. 2018, second-degree assault. In the eyes of the Maryland Public Safety article, once you hit those milestones, you are a prohibited possessor for life. You lose the right to even be in the same room as a firearm. So when the GVU, Group Violence Unit, sees a man they recognize from these files, a man with this history, and they see him in a liquor store appearing armed, the intensity goes to 100 immediately. They aren't looking for a changed man. They're looking for the man in their phone's mugshot. When Hawkins ran, he wasn't just running from a ticket. He was running from the fact that he was a felon, with Exhibit A in his hand. If he gets caught, he's not going home for a long, long time. And that, sleuths, is the why behind the 17 rounds. Desperation meets a specialized unit. The paperwork don't lie, even when it's tragic. And that's the reality. Belair Road is quiet tonight, but the story isn't over. You've seen the paperwork on Officer Rodriguez, you've seen the map of the chase, and you've seen Exhibit A. We don't just report the OIS, we audit the entire process. Now it's your turn. If you want to see the unredacted Maryland IID declination reports before I put them in a video, or if you got body cam receipts on another case that needs the sleuth treatment, you need to be in the task force. Scan the QR code. Search Cipher Sleuth Investigations on Facebook. We don't just cover the news, we open the file. Cipher 1, I'll see you in the group.